Hello everybody and welcome to round number 8 here at the SRL TCR season number 9. We are here at the Winton Raceway for the National Circuit, and as I say, the 8th round of competition. Only 3 more rounds remain, including the one tonight. It is going to be an incredibly close one as the Drivers' Championships continue to go throughout each of the 3 different classes. The Pro field having Mould at the top at the moment, but it is close within that fight for the front. The Pro-Ams fights up and down the field, amateurs as well fights throughout. But before we get too much on to the championship standings, let's have a look at the final few rounds that look ahead for this championship. We are here at the Winton National Circuit for round number 8. We head to the 2 very famous German circuits for the end of this season. We head across the Hockenheim Ring for round number 9 next week on December 5th, and we finish the season on December 12th around the Nürburgring circuit. It is going to be an incredibly great end to this season. It's a tight one heading up today, though, as we have got this extremely tricky Winton circuit, and it is a very tricky circuit for our drivers to have to get the grips on. In fact, it is running at 12 corners. It is just under 2 miles long. And originally, the club circuit was the layout of this circuit. It was introduced, the national layout, in 1997, which is 36 years after it was originally built. That is where we head off to the left to the national layout, where the new pit lane was installed as well. It is going to be a tricky course to get around, and I think we're going to see a number of issues, especially through the 7, 8, 9 complex. Even turn number 6 is going to be a tricky one to get through as well. In fact, it's aptly named the rollover corner, and it is a corner in which I have had many an issue in the past around this circuit. So it is going to be a very fun one to head out to and get our racing underway. As the practice session goes at the moment, we have got Kim Borkland, the fastest in the session right now, looking for his 4th pole position this season if he is able to place it in the same place in qualifying. However, he is also one of our championship contenders in the Pro Series. Dan Mould is out at the top with 649 points to his name, but he is only 10 points clear of Kim Borkland, and Borkland will be looking to get another strong result here. Of course, both Borkland and Mould winning a race each in Zandvoort, with Borkland winning the first race and Mould winning the second race. And Borkland actually taking that win in the first race is only the 2nd time this season that our pole sitter has gone on to win race number 1 of the day. So will that happen again today? We'll wait to find out. Arthur Thurtle sits 3rd in the Pro Championship, and then we have another close fight going on there. Adam Delmont and Tony Walker, just 30 points between them, 481 and 451 points respectively. Daniel Downing sits in 6th in the championship ahead of John Brown. Then we've got Tony Salomon, Logan McKinsey and Anthony Lammer inside the top 10. Across over to your Pro-Am standings, and I have written many names down in the fights across the Pro-Am Championship. It is extremely close at the top of the Pro-Am Championship. So Carl Hardy with 495 points, only 13 points clear ahead of Akers. Akers moving up into 2nd past Garrity after last week's Zandvoort rounds. There he sits on 482 points and is clear of only 6 points ahead of Garrity now. Garrity himself only 6 points clear of Koderman. So there's a 4-way fight for the lead of the championship going on there. I wouldn't discount the fight just behind them either. You've got Ayla and Lewis have moved up into 5th and 6th position, and Stringer has dropped down to 7th, but there's only 10 points separating the 3 of those drivers. And then we head down into 8th position. You've got Craig Walters, then you've got Luke Jones, and you've got Deck Crowther at the back there as well. And you can see just 3 points separating Luke Jones and Deck Crowther. And then it's not showing on our top 10 there. However, 12th and 13th, Titular and Hards, they are tied with 367 points apiece. Titular are leading in 12th in the championship between the 2 of those, but they are tied with 367 points apiece. We then head across to the amateur standings. We've got Lucas Henschel at the top of that standings here. He's sitting with 324 points to his name, a little bit clear of Thomas Coombe, by a little bit. I mean, about 27 points, so it's certainly not running away with it. But he hasn't got to worry too much going into the first race here. However, the battle behind is extremely tight. Second position, Coombe moves past Malcolm. They've swapped positions here in second and third. 7 points between the 2 of them. Further 4 points back, and you have Torborn Mail. 3 points behind that, and you've got Andy Littler. And then you've got Jeff Saunders there in 6th as well, a further 4 points back. So those 5 drivers separated by 18 points. So it is incredibly tight at the top of the amateur standings. Then, of course, you look down to 7th position. You've got Nick Scotney there. Stephen Fry's up to 8th. He's only raced in 4 races so far this season. He has won all of those. So he is looking to find more points to his name and get himself into a potential, I mean, it's a long shot, but a potential championship win. He is the fastest amateur driver out there today as well. He's sitting in 5th position. Thomas Coombe sitting down below. I do apologise for that, as I accidentally had that on the wrong screen. And then we had a look at, we've got Vigard Olsen Leah and Fiona Siddons. They are extremely tight in their own fight, with just 4 points separating both of those. Of course, Leah ending up on their side during the first race of the day last week at Zandvoort on what was, will still remain as the biggest crash in TCRs that I have seen on iRacing. Okay, we are going to have a start in qualifying in just a couple of minutes time, so get yourself ready and prepared for this one, our qualifying session. Of course, setting the grid for the first race of the day. The second race of the day is brought to you by having the top 15 results from race number 1 being reversed for race number 2. So there is a little bit of an incentive for the drivers a little bit further back to try and find their way into the top 15. That's for sure, because it will place them nicely at the front. But right now it is Kim Borkland who is the fastest in this practice session, only by a few hundredths of a second ahead of Daniel Downing, however. Downing looking to take his second pole of the season. Arthur Thirdle's just behind. He could go for his third pole. And then Dan Mould also looking for a second pole. And actually just behind the top 4 who are looking really, really fast this season is Stephen Fry. Amateur driver, but he is 5th fastest in the server right now. And he is only just under 3/10 off of Kim Borkland at the top of the session. So he is looking like he is going for another double victory if he is able to find the pace, which I'm sure he will, and stay out of the issues. I think that's what's going to cause heartbreak and misery for some drivers today. Is I think we are going to see a number of cars going around, getting caught up in incidents, and therefore losing a number of positions. The S's at the beginning of the lap, turns number 1 and 2 that we just saw on our screens there. The exit turn number 2, you can run really wide right up to the wall, but if you're not careful, that is quite a bump on the sausage curbs and sort of curbing that you got out there, and you could get your car unsettled. You could find yourself into that wall, which you're not going to want to do, of course, well, you don't want the damage, do you? So 15 seconds left in this practice session, and we are going to get qualifying underway. And it is going to be a session in which we actually have quite an even amount, an even amount of pros and amateur drivers out there. And then we've got a few extra pro-ams. We've got 8 pros, 8 ams, and 12 pro-ams out there in today's session. So we'll be keeping an eye on how each of those are doing in their respective classes. Of course, overall position, the important thing in this league. That's where you get your points. However, the classes are where they are fighting for the championships. Now, drivers are going to start getting themselves out here for qualifying, and we shouldn't see the massive bunching up at the end of pit lane that we saw at Zandvoort that ended up having most cars having to escape down to pit lane and head back out there again to get their cars refreshed because they got caught up into the incident. But drivers heading out then and will be looking to try and find some space out there if they can to put in the best time that they can on the session. We'll get the track map up so we can see how busy it is out there and see if those drivers can find themselves into a place where they don't have too many cars around them. It is Daniel Downing who is at the very sorry, I hit the wrong button. At the very front of the train of drivers heading around the circuit, and he will be the first to start his lap time. You can see there's a whole host of drivers behind him. Toe, not going to be as important here. Of course, you do have the national section, which Downing has just turned onto, and we're heading up to the final 2 corners now. But toe, not going to be as important because of how many corners around this circuit. You're really going to want to be in your own space around here, away from anyone else, to try and put in a lap time from yourself that is not impacted by anyone else. And we are going to ride on board with Daniel Downing here as he starts his first qualifying lap, as everyone here will be coming along behind him through the Motorsport S's there. Again, you can push really wide there, but you want to be careful of the bumpy curves on the outside. Through turn number 3 now and into turn 4. Getting it close to the grass, pushing it out. Don't want to kick up any of the gravel now. Turn number 5. It's a lot longer than it looks. It gets tighter towards the end as well. Gearing down halfway through that corner then. Switches across to roll over corner turn number 6. And now heavy on the brakes for turn 7. Get it close to that curbing. Touches it just a little bit. And now 8 around the tree and up towards turn number 9. Again, it gets tighter towards the exit. It's how you set up turn number 9 as well. Turn number 9 crucial because now you're going to be heading out for turn 9 and along Shannon Straight towards turn number 10 here. Again, you're going to get back over to the right-hand side. You're going to hit heavy on the brakes, turn it into the curves on the left, push it out wide. Not getting on that gravel on the exit, and now along Falcon Straight up towards turn number 11. Heavy on the brakes, so you can push it a little bit wider if you want to, because you've got that pit entrance there that you can use. Into turn number 12, again push it wide on the curbing, put your foot to the throttle, head up towards the timing line here. Daniel Downing is going to complete his lap time. He will be the first to put in a lap on the board, and it is going to be a 26.293. Kim Falkland goes in behind, but it is slower, as is Arthur Thurtle, Anthony Lammer, and John Brown. So some really good laps being placed in there. We are looking at Jura Lackinen, the number 52 machine, heading up now through Penright Corner. We've got a lot of cars out there on the circuit, and for some reason that track map showing that they're all going through pit lane. I can assure you that they are not all going through pit lane. They are staying out on the track and putting in lap times, and right now Stephen Fry, Torbjörn Mell putting great lap times for AMS. Lucas Henschel says, actually no, I'm here, thank you very much. Henschel leading the championship, of course, in the amateur class. He has taken 4 wins so far this season. He took one all the way back at Road Atlanta round number 1. He took the double in Portimao round 4, and he took the win in the second race at Sebring for round 6. Right, up towards the timeline comes Jura Lackinen here. What can Lackinen do on this lap time? comes across the line, does to 52, and it will be a 37-2 that is invalid for him. So he'll try that one again and see if he goes even faster. Daniel Downing, the fastest out there at the moment, but Dan Mould, Pro Championship leader, is going to want to find a time over that. Daniel Downing goes even faster at the front with a 26.2. Jaden Scotton finds time, goes into third. Daniel Lewis finds times, goes into fourth. Kev Aylett goes into fifth. Martin Kodeman knocks him down into eighth. Sorry, that was to 10th for Kev Aylett. He's now down to 13th. JB DeShay and Ryan Stringer swap positions in 17th and 18th as Cooper Akers moves into 9th, knocks down to 10th. Dan Mould here coming up towards turn number 11, looking to put a time better than a 26.6 that he currently has on the board. To 26.2, that's the fastest through turn number 12 now. And up towards the timing line for Dan Mould. We're going to remain with Mould, and we're actually going to roll by on board for the next lap here. Mould finding that that lap was not faster, actually, 0.2 of a second slower, and we'll be looking for some more here. Reaching right to the rev limit, gets it slowed down for turn number 3, over that curving on the inside. It almost pulled him around. Jaden Scotton will have to go down pit lane to serve a black flag, and we'll have to reset the car on that one. 4 minutes left on the clock. We want him to do that quickly if he wants to get out. He has served that now. Dan Mould goes through the very long right-hander, or left-hander of 5, into the right-hander of 6, heavy on the brakes now for Penrite corner of 7. Up towards 8. Slightly different line here than Daniel Downing. Downing still the fastest out there, but Anthony Lammer has just placed his car into second, beaten by Arthur Thurtle. Thurtle goes less than half a tenth of a second away from Daniel Downing, but still does not displace Downing from the top here. Downing going for his second pole of the season. We haven't seen a new pole sitter since round 4 at Portimao. Is it going to be a new pole sitter? Anthony Lammer could find his way onto pole position for the first time this season. Dan Mould comes through turn number 11, up into turn number 12 now, and towards the timing line comes Dan Mould. Will it be enough to improve? It's 26.615 to improve to 26.335. That is going to place him into 4th. It is extremely close there in the top 6 with all of our pro drivers that are up there. But right now, Daniel Downing still the fastest out there. Arthur Thurtle looking to go faster if possible. Thurtle having a absolute jump scare last week at Zandvoort in race number 2, driving underneath a car that took flight through the final turn. He'll be hoping something similar does not happen here today, and he comes through turn number 12 to prepare for a new lap as Daniel Downing finds just a couple of hundredths there and improves the gap to Arthur Thurtle to 44 hundredths of a second. Thurtle now coming through the first chicane through the S's, getting over that curving hard, but you really can do that, especially on these qualifying laps when you are attacking it. Tony Walker goes 8th fastest and moves yet another pro driver closer to that gaggle at the front. Stephen Fry well away from the AM drivers behind, and there are 4 AM drivers without lap times on the board right now, 1 Pro-Am without a lap time on the board as well, as we watch Thurtle head through turn number 6, that left-hander into the braking zone of Penrite corner for 7, gets it slowed down. Ahead is Daniel Lewis right now, so Thurtle does have someone of not too much slower in front of him, which means that he isn't going to be hindered by that and could get a little bit of additional help along the straights here. And for the tow, 126 is the fastest, less than that on the board now. Drivers on their last laps as they cross the line now. As Thurtle gets in towards turn number 11 and gets it towards turn 12 again, pushing hard on that exit. You can do that where that pit lane is. Not pushing as wide through turn number 12 here, but is it going to be an improvement of 26.234 is the best. It's a 26.593, 0.3 of a second slower there. as it won't be an improvement there. Borkland still out there. Borkland looking to go for 4th pole position. Nobody has gone back-to-back poles yet, and Borkland is the only driver to go more than 2 poles this season. Can he go 4? Cooper Akers moves into 15th overall ahead of Demis Titchler, as JB Dejay's that qualifying session will be over with that penalty. Won't have enough time to come out and put in a new lap time. Luckily for him, Lucas Henschel, who does find time on his previous lap, only goes 0.02 of a second slower. Thomas Coombe also slower on the lap board there, as we continue to watch Borkland heading up towards turn number 10 now, where we turn off from the club circuit onto the extension of the national circuit introduced back in 1997, heading up now, and that will be just not enough time for drivers to finish their current lap times, which means we will going to set our grid up then for the first race of the day. Drivers then getting down onto the field for this 20-minute showcase. Let's have a look at how the grid is going to line up. Daniel Downing is going to start from pole position for just the 2nd time this season. That will be ahead of Arthur Thurtle. Anthony Lammer is the 3rd fastest of them all, and he is going to start in that 3rd place ahead of Dan Mould. Kim Borkland is going to start in 5th position ahead of Jayden Scotton. 7th position will be Daniel Lewis, the fastest of the Pro-Ams, ahead of Tony Walker. Stephen Fry, the fastest of the Ams, will start 9th ahead of Kev Aylett. Carl Hardy will start in 11th ahead of Ronald de Jong. And then John Brown will be in 13th ahead of Mahan Kodeman. Cooper Akers is in 15th ahead of Demis Titchler. Sjur Lackinen is in 17th ahead of Torburn Mayo in 18th position. 19th will be for JB Dejay ahead of Lucas Henschel. Thomas Coombe is in 21st ahead of Chesley Vandenbroek. Ryan Stringer will be in 23rd ahead of Sydney Hards in 24th. Jeff Saunders will be 25th position ahead of Vigard Olsen Leah. Andy Littler in 27th, and Dec Crowther will start at the back of the field. Let's see if we can have a look at our field as they all are out there and ready for this one as we are preparing ourselves to go. As we have 20 minutes on the board, it looks like it'll be about 14 laps of racing around the Winton Raceway here as we prepare ourselves for the first of 2 races today. The results of race number 1 setting a grid for race number 2 with the top 15 reversed. Right, drivers are all out there now and ready to start this one, as I am sure you guys are just as excited as they are. It's going to be a tight one. It is a tight circuit out there. 20 minutes on the board then as we prepare for race number 1 of round 8 here at Winton. Daniel Downing, Arthur Thurtle side by side off the line. Who's going to get the better start? It does go Daniel Downing's way. Thurtle doesn't quite get the launch. And, of course, that's showing how close the grid is here. Is basically side-by-side starts, and Arthur Thurtle has been touched. There's contact behind as drivers are caught up in that one. And already disaster at the S's here on the opening lap of the race, as Lammer and Borkland both with meatball flags there. Drivers go off. That was Stephen Fry off the circuit. As Daniel Lewis, Dan Moult, Daniel Downing, they pull away, and it is the 3 Dans out front right now. Tony Walker holding on to 4th, and Jayden Scotton in 5th position. Meatball flags, I say, for Lammer and for Borkland. They will be having to pit lane. Ryan Stringer gets around the outside of Thomas Coombe there as they continue to fight into turn number 7 here, heavy on the brakes, up towards turn number 8. It switches across to the left-hand side. Drivers going side by side, trying to hold on to positions in this one as it remains quite tight up ahead as well. Side by side between Mayo and Laconin here as they swap positions as we get in towards turn number 10, and Mayo is going to hold on ahead of Dejay. No, Dejay gets good speed on the exit there of 10, will hold the outside. In fact, Mayo slowing down once more on the inside, looks towards the inside of Dejay, and Mayo is going to stay up the inside of Dejay, forces Dejay a little bit wider than he would have hoped into the final corner. Dejay has to go heavy on the brakes there, and Ryan Stringer gets that position as we finish the first lap of this race. Is Daniel Downing leading the way ahead of Dan Mole. Daniel Lewis is holding third overall in this one as we come out of the S's. Kev Aylett running a bit slowly here. Ronald de Jong goes around the outside, and that is a swap for second in the class there. As we head through now and around towards turn number 5, this long left-hander. This is the corner that catches quite a few people off the later it goes, especially in a racing situation, because you just push a little bit too hard, get yourself over that curbing. It is called rollover corner for a reason. These cars won't be easy to roll, however, bouncing off that curb, it really will unsettle you if you take a bit too much of that. Stringer gets past Mail in their fight in 15th and 16th position overall right now, but it looks like for the most part drivers have settled themselves down into their race positions, which is nice, as it looks like we may have got away with just the one incident at the start. It looks like we're going to go side by side here as John Brown trying to chase down Carl Hardy into the final corner. There's a little bit of contact there. Brown getting a slower exit than he would have hoped for, and has Cooper Akers over the rear now. Moves to the left-hand side. Marhan Kodaman tucks back across to the right and into the S's now. And again, just how much curbing do you want to take there? A lot of the cars bouncing around, and that's what I mean about that curb on your exit. Cooper Akers taking a bit too much of it, just bounces up a bit more than he would have hoped for, as that was Stephen Fry getting past Demis Titcherer into turn number 3. We run on board with Stephen Fry now, who is chasing down Marhan Kodaman to try and move back up the order after he went off on the opening lap of the race. As the race continues, we actually go jump on board with Jaden Scotton now. Scotton sitting 5th position here. We've got Tony Walker just up ahead. Daniel Lewis in the Pro-Ams running in 3rd position right now. Daniel Downing, though, doing a great job at the front of this field. Daniel Downing has taken 1 pole position before today, only 1 race win before today. Took his 2nd pole today. Can he take his 2nd win, as that was Ryan Stringer has had an issue, as so has Torburn Mail. And it's contact from Mail behind, and that's both drivers around, well, Stringer around, Mail just slow because of it. But that's not what Ryan Stringer would have wanted, and he will try to recover from that now. Right, Scotton on the back end of Tony Walker here, looking to try and do something with this one. We ride on the back of Walker, looking back towards towards Jason Scotton. This is on the back of Daniel Lewis, looking behind, and there's a big amount of airtime there from Jaden Scotton. He keeps it running the right way, a little bit of escape with the wall, but like I said, you can push it out wide there, but you've got to be careful because it can be deadly, and it almost was there as we head through into turn number 5, the long left-hander, and up now towards turn 6. We swap across to the right and heavy on the brakes for turn 7. Daniel Lewis doing a good job here in the Pro-Am class to hold on to 3rd position at the moment in this race, as Cooper Akers looking to try and get John Brown if possible as they run through here and up towards turn number 9. But Brown is also trying to get past Carl Hardy at the moment, get past a few of these Pro-Am drivers. If the race is to end as it is right now, JB Tejay would be on the pole position for the 2nd race of the day. However, Lucas Henschel is right behind, wanting to try and take that 15th position. So Arthur Thurtle is back there as well, after getting involved in the incident, obviously at the very start of the race, and looks up the inside of Lucas Henschel here into turn number 11. Just enough room for him to keep his car in there. He won't be able to keep the speed, however, and will drop behind as we go up towards the 6th lap of talking about the opening lap of the race. Of course, we didn't quite see what happened there, but you can just see spin in the back, at the very front of the field, and then a couple of cars off and around, including Anthony Lammer. Lammer was the one that went into the wall, as well as Thurtle dispatches Henschel there, and looking now to try and catch JBJ and get into the top 15, where he'll at least get some benefit from the reverse if he's not able to move any further up the order. As Mail, we saw him get involved in that lap 1 accident. He went down pit lane and got his car repaired. He's got Chesney Vanderbroek just behind in 25th position. In fact, Chesney pushing hard through that turn 5. Like I said, it's very easy to do in a racing situation. You want to get a position, you push hard through turn 5, and it just gets tighter as the lap goes, as the corner goes on, and it becomes really, it just comes up on you really. Turn number 6, and easy to run over that very heavy curbing on the inside of turn 6. This is Jaden Scotton, still on the rear end of Tony Walker, still about 0.2 of a second between them, but this is the rear of what it could be a very interesting train of drivers. You can see just up ahead, goes towards Carl Hardy. It's got John Brown, Cooper Akers, Martin Kodeman, Stephen Fry. Then you've got Titchler and Laconan, not too far off, but this is on board Stephen Fry now, looking to try and get past Martin Kodeman, bumps over the curbing, and now up towards turn number 3. Fry looking to try and get past Kodeman and Akers here. Akers still getting that pro driver of John Brown just up ahead, but won't be able to do anything with it just yet. Talking about what could happen, Dan Mould has closed the gap to about half a second behind Daniel Downing here as Portland goes purple on his last lap. We could see a potential fight for the lead here. We are coming up to halfway through the race, so Downing found it on pole position. Like I said, Dan Mould in round number 2 at Brands Hatch, and Kim Borkland at round number 7 at Zandvoort is the only time this season that the pole sitter has won race number 1. However, there's only been 2 times, 3 times, never mind, ignore that. I was going to say it's only been 1 time that a driver who got pole did not win during a weekend. No, it has happened 3 times, and that's Dan Mould. Off the circuit through the final turn, will lose a bit of time to Daniel Downing there. This is the train of drivers behind, being led by Carl Hardy. That was a mini move there from Stephen Fry up the inside of Marhan Kodeman, but doesn't obviously solidify that, too far behind to make anything of it, but he's certainly looking to try and do something right now. Kodeman pushes wide out of turn 2 though, gets that curbing on the outside that unsettles your car a little bit, but he keeps the speed in. Now into turn number 4 as we head up towards this long left-hander of turn 5. It has caught a couple of people out, but Fry gets right onto the back of Kodeman here, literally sniffing his exhaust pipe there, switches across for turn number 6, and now onto the braking zone, and that is going to be a nudge on the rear end of Kodeman there, catching Fry out a little bit. He backs out a little more than he probably should have, and it is going to mean that Stephen Fry is now going to have to close that time back in once more, that he has had to do a couple of times following some issues for him, as Andy Littler gets past Ryan Stringer. Stringer saying, no thank you very much, I want this position of 22nd overall, and Ryan Stringer stays ahead of Andy Littler for the moment, but Stringer back down there towards the back with the amateur drivers at the moment. He has not had the easiest of times going around, of course, with contact from Torburn Mayo earlier in the race, and they are both back there, of course, in that mix. But Torburn Mayo, being an amateur driver, he is sitting 5th in class, I believe, right now. As we look back once more towards the front, it's still the fight between 4th and 5th of Tony Walker and Jaden Scotto. And can we please not forget Daniel Lewis, who is running in a overall podium position 3rd right now, without a reverse grid helping him there. Yes, there was the incident on lap number 1 that took 3 drivers ahead of him away. However, he has still managed to get through that incident and run with a very good amount of pace ahead. That was some contact behind. Someone has had an issue through rolled over corner, and it looks like it was Stephen Fry and Marhan Kodeman in that train of drivers. What's happened here? Fry looks to the inside of Kodeman, and it's a nudge on the inside of Kodeman. Both drivers get themselves going though, so they haven't lost too much time. Codeman won't be happy with 5. 5 will still be wanting that position, of course, as well as they continue to fight it out in 11th and 12th position. Through turn number 11 now and into turn number 12. This is the fight once more for 3rd position, and Ronald de Jong has actually got up into this fight as well. Kev Aylett just at the back of this one. So the two Pro-Ams that are on the 2nd and 3rd place in class are looking to potentially get involved with the pros at the front, and that is an issue from Tony Walker. A bit of an interesting line there, but it's not going to matter too much because Jaden Scotton gets a huge amount of curbing on the exit. So where Walker got the curbing on the entry to the corner, Scotton got the curbing on the exit to the corner, and both drivers have really neutralised each other's mistakes out there. Back to the front here, and it is just 0.2 of a second separating Daniel Downing and Dan Mould at the front of this field. Who is going to come out on top? Daniel Downing goes defensive. Mould looking for the alternate line here to see if he can get through and make the overtake for the lead of the race. He has been behind now for 9 laps of asking with about 7 minutes on the clock. We're going to see 4 or 5 more laps in this one as we head through turn number 10 with Mould chasing down Downing. It opens up once more to about half a second. So Mould seemingly faster in the first half of the lap here. Downing seemingly faster in the second, where there could be potentially better overtaking opportunities through turn number 10 and 11 with the braking zones. Up towards turn number 1 though, and the gap, like I say, about half a second between them now. That is Mould pushing very hard, as much as he can, very wide there. Downing getting on a much more conservative line away from the curbing on the outside there, and once again the gap's about 0.4 of a second, but it is matching some of the closest fights out there right now. Although that being said, we do have a 3-car little fight going on here between Sydney Hards, Deck Crowther and Jeff Saunders, and Ryan Stringer not too far off the back of this one as well, so he could try and get himself involved, try to get position past Jeff Saunders. Then you got Crowther and Hards, both of them in the same class as him, and of course Hards tied with Titchler on points right now. That won't go Hards' way, it will definitely go Titchler's way as it stands at the moment. As we continue to watch drivers go around, we're heading into the final 5 minutes of the race. Jura Lackinen still chasing down Demis Titchler, the two teammates there. Are they going to be fighting each other out for 13th position in this race as we enter the last 5 minutes of this one? Jaden Scotton gets to the inside of, we're stuck on the outside of Tony Walker. That was the first opportunity that Scotton has really had all race long. It didn't turn into anything there. Let's see how that played out before we catch up with them live again. Moves to the right, defensive from Walker, just sticks on the right. Tries to get all the way around the outside, but the inside line just working out better from Walker there as they head out of the S's now and towards turn number 3. The 86 chasing down the 85 here as they head up towards the long left-hander of turn 5. Once again, about 0.3 of a second separate the two drivers in 4th and 5th position overall right now. Both of them getting that curbing, flicking the car into the air a little bit, but not too many issues outside of that. As to be fair, there has been no car just spin on their own yet around here, which is showing that the racing is extremely close. Yes, there's been a little bit of contact, but drivers are pushing hard and they are doing well as Stringer looks to try and get to the inside of Jeff Saunders here. Does so, gets to 21st overall, but Saunders holds it to the inside of turn number 8 here. Saunders trying to keep that position. It will go once again Stringer's way through turn number 9, but Saunders can keep the speed if he tries on the exit, but Stringer was not going to let him have it, pushing that car out wide to hold that outside, well, to defend that outside line, which could have turned into the inside of turn number 10, and Ryan Stringer moves into 21st with Jeff Saunders down to 22nd position. We head to the last few laps of this race as Dan Mould still behind Daniel Downing Downing has taken just one win so far this season. It was back at Portimao, which was the last time he took pole position as well. He's taken his second pole of the season here at Winton. Can he convert it into his second win of the season? Or will Dan Mould find the race win for the 7th time this season? As we head through turn number 8 and into 9 once more with Downing ahead of Mould. Daniel Lewis is in no man's land back there. 5 seconds behind this fight for the lead, but 2.5 seconds ahead of the fight for third. Yes, it's a bit of a no man's land, but it's a great place to be in. No one to worry about, just yourself, and you can come home to take a class win and a podium overall as well. For Daniel Lewis, he'll be really wanting to try and take a class win because it'll be his second class win of the season, his first one being at race number 2 last week in Zandvoort. So it will be back-to-back victories for Daniel Lewis as it stands. Across the line we go for the 13th time of asking. 2 more laps left on the board as we watch this fight for the lead continue. 0.3 of a second right now, and again, Dan Mould pushing hard, pushing wide, gets over the curbing on the exit. It's Deck Crowther gets past Sydney Hards for 19th position. Ryan Stringer just behind this fight as well, be wanting to take a couple more places if he can, and his first person to do that one will be Sydney Hards. We go into turn number 1 here. Over the curbing hard from both of them as they head out of the exit, but all of them staying away from the outer curb. Back towards the fight for the lead, you've got Daniel Downing and Dan Mould. Mould still trying to get past Downing here, slightly different racing line. He's going to be pushing wide, and that's not going to be the line that Mould is going to have wanted to take. It is going to impact his exit as we go into turn number 10 now, and we head towards the final lap of asking. We are going to be white flag next time around as we come towards turn number 11 here with Dan Mould behind, still trying to chase down this race win if he can. Daniel Downing doing a great job with pace at the front of this field, is looking to take a second win of the season and become only the 3rd time that the pole sitter has gone on to win race number 1 this season. They're doing again different lines, but Mould staying away from that curbing on the outside this time. Half a second between them as we come through turn number 3 and into turn 4. The long left hand of turn number 5 awaits. Is Dan Mould going to push too hard trying to close this gap? It's down to 0.3 of a second. No, gets it perfect across the rollover corner. It's down to 2.5 of a second all the way to the rear bumper there. Who is going to get better on the exit here? Slightly tighter line from Downing into turn number 8, and that has allowed Mould to get right onto the rear end now. It's all going to be about the exit and getting onto the brakes at the right point. 2.5 of a second here. It looks like it is going to go Daniel Downing's way, but will he stay there? It's a little bit of contact. Downing goes a little bit heavy on the brakes here to slow Mould down. It's given Daniel Downing the better exit up towards turn number 11 here. Again, heavy on the brakes. Mould right on the rear, but we're going to come out of the final turn, and Daniel Downing is going to take win number 2 of the season. Dan Mould crosses the line to take home second, and Daniel Lewis is going to take class win number 2 of the season ahead of Tony Walker. Ronald Dion comes home in 6th ahead of Kev Aylett. Carl Hardy in 8th ahead of John Brown. Cooper Akers comes home in 10th position, and Marhan Kodeman just ahead of Stephen Fry. Demis Titchler takes home 13th ahead of Laconan. Arthur Thurtle comes home in 15th, recovering from the first lap accident. Deshay comes home in 16th ahead of Lucas Henschel. Thomas Coombe comes home in 18th ahead of Deck Crowther. Ryan Stringer in 20th ahead of Sydney Hards. Andy Littler crosses the line in 22nd, Mail in 23rd, 24th position for Jeff Saunders, 25th for Portland. Vandenbroek comes home in 26th, 27th for Anthony Lammer, and down and out of the race was Lammer, and also was Vigard Olsen Leah as well. Let's just get that full results for you just once more out of that one. So that you can catch up and see where your favourite drivers came home in that one, as Daniel Downing, like I said, taking his second win of the season and only the third time we have seen the pole sitter win race number 1, and with the second pole came a second victory for Daniel Downing. Dan Mould took home second in the end, and Daniel Lewis took home third. Lewis doing a great job at taking advantage of the other drivers' mistakes around him, and took home a win in that one. Tony Walker came home in fourth ahead of Jaden Scott, and Ronald de Jong came home in sixth in the end to take second in class as well ahead of Kev Aylett, who took another podium in class. Carl Hardy leading the Pro-Am Championship coming into this one. He's in 8th position in that race, and will not like the fact that he can see some competitors around him doing a little bit better here, but for the most part he hasn't got to worry. I mean, Akers sitting second in the championship came home 10th in this race. John Brown took home 9th in this one. 11th position went to Marhan Coleman ahead of Stephen Fry. Demis Titcheler came home in 13th ahead of Shura Larkinen. And Arthur Thirdle recovering, taken out obviously on lap number 1, recovering from that one and was in 15th position, which means that Arthur Thirdle is going to start the final race of the day on pole position with the top 15 inverted, of course, so he will take full advantage of the inverted grid. JB DeJay will start in 16th ahead, finished in 16th ahead of Lucas Henschel. Thomas Kuhn came home in 18th ahead of Deck Crowther and Ryan Stringer. 21st position was for Sydney Hards ahead of Andy Littler. Torburn Mayle came home in 23rd ahead of Jeff Saunders. Kim Borkland came home in 25th ahead of Chesney Vandenbroek. Like I said, out of the race with Anthony Lammer and Vigard Olsen Leah as well. And I don't believe that Olsen Leah actually managed to start that race. However, we are going to prepare ourselves for race number 2, in which we will see more drivers. Going for the overtakes, and what we have seen more often than not is with the top 15 reversed, a little bit more interesting maneuvers being made. Let's put it that way, as drivers are looking to try and find their way back up the field, of course, after being down the field on the grid with that inverted field being there. So let's see how it goes out. Of course, it does mean that Daniel Downing, he's going to be starting on 15th in the next one, and championship leader Dan Mould is going to be starting in 14th, so we'll have a number of positions to move. Thurtle's going to hope that he's starting at the front on the front row again, that he is not going to be taken out this time. He will have the inside line, of course, heading up towards turn number 1, where he was on the outside last time. But with 1.5 minutes left in this warm-up session, drivers are going to prepare themselves for race number 2. Slightly longer race, of course, being 25 minutes over 20. If you are new around here and watching for the first time, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you see all of the content that SRL pushes out, including going into 2026 with season number 10 of the TCR League. And also make sure that you hit that thumbs up button underneath the stream as well, so you can show that you are enjoying what you are watching. It really helps out SRL and everything that they do. And if you want to catch up with all of the extended highlights from round number 5 onwards, then make sure that you head across to the Beehive Build Broadcasting YouTube channel, where you can catch all of the SRL TCR's extended highlights, like I said, from round number 5 at the Red Bull Ring. This week's Winton round will be up before we head out at Hockenheim next Friday. Yeah, we're going to prepare ourselves now as we are getting ready. This is officially going to be the final race of November. 2 more rounds are left to go, both in the wintry December, depending on where you are around the world, of course, as most of our drivers here from Europe or a nearby country. In fact, I believe all from Europe. So we'll be heading to our winter over here, and luckily not being reflected with any conditions out on the circuit. We're going to say nice and dry as we are today. And yeah, heading up into the winter period as drivers settle down for their breaks, and season number 10's information coming out soon to you as well. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. And if you're not already in the SRL Discord, that you head across there, link in the description below the stream. Right then, the grid for the second and final race of the day. It is going to be Arthur Thurtle starting from pole position. This one ahead of Jura Laakkonen. Demis Titcherer is going to be in third ahead of Stephen Fry. Marhan Kodeman will start this one in fifth, and Cooper Akers in sixth position. Seventh position is going to go the way of John Brown ahead of Carl Hardy. Kev Aylett is going to start in ninth ahead of Ronald de Jong in 10th. Jaden Scotton in 11th ahead of Tony Walker. 13th will be for Daniel Lewis. Dan Mould in 14th. Daniel Downing will be starting in 15th position in this one. JB Dejay will be starting in 16th ahead of Lucas Henschel. And Thomas Coombe, 19th position, is going to go the way of Deck Crowther. 20th is Ryan Stringer. Sydney Hards will start in 21st ahead of Andy Littler. Torburn Mayer will be starting in 23rd ahead of Jeff Saunders. 25th was Kim Borkland. 26th will be Chesney Vandenbroek. Anthony Lammer will be starting in 27th ahead of Vegard Olsen Leah. If we see Leah actually on the grid for the second race of the day. I believe we'd not see Leah come out for the first race of the day. Right. Drivers then preparing themselves. Thurtle is going to be on the inside here towards turn number 1, and I'm sure he'll be trying to stay there in order to not get spun out this time. Jura Laakkonen is on the right-hand side of the circuit, will be on the outside, but again, you can see that they just start side by side though in each of these rows. There is no staggering of the grid. They all just start side by side. Which means starting on the odd number, you are gone on that inside, even numbers you're on the outside. But if Laakkonen here could get a better start than Thurtle didn't get the greatest launch in race 1, which is why he was under attack into turn number 1. Laakkonen could take the lead here. Right, 25 minutes on the clock. That's going to be about 18 laps of asking. After Thurtle from pole ahead of Jura Laakkonen here. The lights are out. We are green. It is a good launch from Arthur Thurtle. Not going to have to worry too much about becoming under attack in towards turn number 1 here. Thurtle takes that inside. It's side by side between teammates. Titcherer gets the inside of Laakkonen, makes that move, and it is John Brown off the circuit already through the exit of turn number 2. It is 3 wide up towards turn number 3. Stephen Fry was in the middle of that one. It was Laakkonen on the inside, and it was Cooper Akers getting involved in that. But was it Ryan Kodeman actually getting involved in that one? But that was 3 wide. They somehow all get through without any contact, which is an absolute miracle. We head through turn number 5 now. It's side by side between Kodeman and Hardy. Hardy's going to get the inside line through turn number 6. Just behind that was that was Kev Aylett getting over the curbing through rollover corner. But once again, they get all through here without incident, and they have got a much cleaner start in race number 2 than they did race number 1. And with the top 15 inverted, that is a massive surprise. Arthur Thurtle has pulled almost 1.5 seconds out front already, and will be trying to take full advantage of this pole position start in this reverse grid. Thurtle has not won since race number 1 in Red Bull Ring, and it has been his only win this season, so he's looking for his second. Daniel Downing took his second. Can it be Arthur Thurtle's second here today? Right, side by side for JB Dejay trying to get around the outside of Daniel Lewis. It doesn't work. Lewis up to 14th, Dejay down to 15th position. Kev Aylett also trying to get past Carl Hardy here as we go up towards turn number 1. Anthony Lammer's day goes from bad to worse as Lammer is once again down and out of this one after an incident. What has happened here for Lammer? It looks like... Oh, what's happened there? It is. It's going to be through the final turn, is it? No, that's an overtake. That's how Borkland got past Coombe. Oh, and this is it. Borkland was already contact behind for Lammer, and Lammer has got broken suspension on that one. Borkland, though, goes to the outside here of Lucas Henschel through turn 5. Very hard place to try and get the overtake done on the outside, but switches back across then for turn number 7, gets to the inside. Borkland gets past Lucas Henschel. Henschel is going to be able to keep a wheel in though for turn number 8 as the corner goes around, trying to get more than a wheel in there, get a whole car alongside, certainly does so into turn number 9, once again goes Falkland's way, and that is going to be Henschel down yet another position at the start of this one. Cooper Akers looking to try and catch up to Laconin there as Stephen Fry is all on the rear of Demis Titchler right now, through turn number 11 up towards turn number 12. And now towards the timing line as well. It's Thurtle leading Titchler, leading Fry at the front of this one. 22 minutes on the board as we go through the first 2 corners. A lot of curving there from Stephen Fry as he tries to get past Demis Titchler as we head up towards turn number 3 now. Dan Mould gets the purple lap, only sitting in 12th position right now. Daniel Downing only making his way up to 13th position right now in this race, but there are a lot of cars collected together all around the field right now. Kev Aylett finds himself in a little bit of a space, half a second ahead, half a second behind, chasing down Carl Hardy, being chased by Codeman, but you can just see how many cars are involved in all of this one. Dan Mould then behind Tony Walker and Jaden Scotton, looking to try and take another position in this one. Daniel Downing just behind Mould, and Downing dies up the inside of Mould there. A little bit of a nudge, and Daniel Downing takes 12th position ahead of Dan Mould, down to 13th place now. Mould won't be too happy with that one and will be wanting to try and get back through. In fact, he pushes it too hard. He runs onto the gravel there, and Mould will lose a little bit of time to Daniel Downing, who now is confirmed up in that position as Stephen Fry has found his way into second position through the final turns. How has he managed to do that? Into the final turn. He's got to the inside of Demis Titchler, finds his way past Titchler, stays ahead of teammate Laconin though as they head across the timing line as we go back live. A huge moment for Titchler there. Laconin looks to the inside of his teammate. They're going to run side by side through turn 3 into turn 4. Settle themselves down, but Titchler off the circuit there and will have to come back on behind Cooper Akers. Carl Hardy though is right on his outside. Contact. Hardy pushing a little bit, pushed a little bit wide now. We'll once again have Kev Aylett behind, a slide from Hardy, but he does hold it. Aylett looks to the outside. Will have to remain behind for now, but Aylett could be under attack from Codeman. No, they all settle themselves down in that little gaggle of cars there as Dan Mould still trying to chase down at the back of this one. Actually has Daniel Lewis there just behind as well. JB Deshay doing a good job on holding ahead of Ryan Stringer right now for this 15th place. Arthur Thurtle has 3.5 seconds out front. Stephen Fry now 1.5 seconds in the second, and Cooper Akers to the outside of Jura Lackinen. This is exactly what Akers needs, sitting second in the Pro-Am Championship. He comes around the final corner, and Cooper Akers moves up into third position in this race, and across the line they go, and it is a fastest lap from Arthur Thurtle, who continues to pull away out front. Kev Aylett here running around in 7th position with Codeman just behind. And Carl Hardy just up ahead, but that was a big moment from Aylett over the curbing, and then he's completely taken out by Ronald de Jong. De Jong there, I don't know if he forgot what his brakes were, but that was a huge pile drive into back Kev Aylett. Look at Aylett's hop there, and here we go up towards just, I don't know where he thinks he was going in that one, but Ronald de Jong, I mean, I think do better is all I can say. Right, Jura Lackinen here, sitting in 4th position ahead of Demis Titchler, two racing forces by Hydro Racers, running away in 4th in 5th position. And they have fallen obviously from the start of this race, but they are still holding on to the top 5 spots right now. Carl Hardy just behind. Cooper Akers there has pulled a gap to Jura Lackinen up ahead as well, as we head up now in towards about 10 minutes completed, 17 minutes to go, as that's Lackinen going deep into turn number 11. Titular gets to the inside, gets a lot of the curbing on the inside, and it's side by side between the teammates now. Cole Hardy sitting behind, trying to think where can he go to possibly take advantage of this. It's side by side between Titular and Laconin, and that is going to be backing out from Laconin. Lets Titular have that position. Would have been a risky move to go side by side with your teammate there, but Cole Hardy now looks to try to go up the inside of Laconin up towards turn number 3. Bit too far back to do anything with that one as they come through turn 3 into turn number 4 now, as this train of drivers, which goes to 4th position, led by Demis Titular, stretches all the way back to 20th place before there's a gap more than a second, and there's a bit of a bunch up there. As Hardy had to slam the brakes a bit more than he wanted to with Larkinen ahead. Kodeman going into the back as that accordion just plays an effect. There is that sideways from De Jong. Contact there and around. What happened in that one? It looks like it was contact from potentially Tony Walker. It was contact from Tony Walker here. And again, that was pretty much fully under throttle there. Pretty much all under throttle up until the points of contact. So I'll repeat my earlier statement, do better. Into the final 2 corners now, as De Jong has recovered down in 21st position. So not the race that De Jong really would have been hoping for here through the first S's, and up towards turn number 3, the fight for 4th position going on, continuing to go on now with this huge train of drivers following behind right now. 15 minutes on the clock, and Thurtle has a 4.5 second lead ahead of Fry. Cooper Akers is only a second off of Fry though, and could take second in this race. As we are on the 7th of potentially 18 laps of asking here, as drivers just finding it difficult to find a space really to overtake. The important bit here is getting the overlap, and actually that can be really tricky to do in a circuit like this, is getting that overlap, getting your wheel just up the inside. You see once again Hardy pushed hard to try and get towards the inside up towards turn number 9, just couldn't do it, and once again is going to have to continue to chase on behind, and just see these drivers ahead of him here, and it's just, it must be really frustrating for Hardy that he knows he can find a little bit of pace over these 2 drivers ahead, but they're just doing a really great job at driving in a perfect way. They're working together as a team. One of them makes mistakes, they let the other person through, and they're just holding on in those positions right now, and I think they're going to continue to do that as long as they possibly can as the race continues right now, as it is at the back of this extremely close train of drivers is Jaden Scotton, running around in 8th position right now, and wants to try and get through past the Pro-Am drivers that lead him all the way up to Arthur Thurtle, who is now 5 seconds clear at the very front. Cooper Akers has closed the gap to Fry now, just another 10th of a second to Akers. Running around with some good speed out there at the moment as we head on to the brakes here, as Jaden Scotton just again closes to the rear end as the racing continues, and Carl Hardy in this fight behind again, just looking to see where is the opportunity going to come to make this move. The drivers extremely close out there. Like I say, this a lot of drivers very, very close out there on track, but not many of them able to find their way through, as Stringer gets defensive on Borkland there, as even Lucas Henschel trying to get involved in this one, but I believe there was something going on between Borkland and Stringer as we just before we cut across to them. This is what's happened. Stringer's gone a little bit slow on the launch there. You can just see bogging down a little bit up towards turn number 9, and Borkland's just nudged the rear end of Stringer. Is there contact on the exit? No, they run side by side, and both of them just getting a slower exit than they would have hoped for. And right now, Ryan Stringer holds on to 14th ahead of Borkland, but Borkland is going to try and do the switchback! Borkland goes to the inside and makes an easy pass past Ryan Stringer. A huge amount of speed there. Stringer wanting to come back at it, nudges the rear bumper of Borkland, but Borkland takes 14th position in this race, and Thomas Coombe is going to have to give up the position to Det Crowther just behind as well, as we catch on to Dan Mould and Daniel Downing once again fighting it out. Downing has made his way back past Mould in this race, and he is up into 10th position, side by side ahead, and Carl Hardy is going for the outside move, and he's going to be sandwiched between the two teammates. He decides to back out of that one. He moves to the right hand side. Laconan now leading on the teammates, and there's contact as that was Titchler tried to get back across to the racing line. Cole Hardy was definitely there. That's allowed Codeman to get through and Scotton to get through, and now Laconan is without his teammate in this defence there. Hardy stuck on the inside line, down to 7th there, but there's almost nothing really that Hardy could have done with that one, because that definitely felt like he was exactly where he could be in that, as Daniel Downing now trying to get to, behind Tony Walker, and we're going to go, as he does make that move, we're going to go have another look at this one, and we're going to ride on board, not with Demis Titchler, but with Carl Hardy. He's got Titchler on the left here. What's going to happen? Yeah, Hardy holds his line completely straight. Titchler moves across to the right, and there's nothing really that Hardy could have done with that one. So he loses a number of positions in that incident, however. But of course, not as much as Titchler, who's down in 20th with his other teammate, Ronald de Jong, who has been having a bad weekend, a bad race out there today. Codeman running around in 5th position now is the driver who's going to try and get past Laconan. Like I say, Laconan now without his buddy behind. When they were working together, they were doing a good job of holding on to the front there. And I would say if Titchler stayed to the left-hand side, he would have had the inside turn number 10 here, and likely would have been able to hold that position. Just tried to move to the racing line, and it didn't quite work out that he would have hoped for. As Arthur Thuddle continuing to increase the gap at the front of the field, and he is running a astonishingly quick lap times compared to others out there as well, at least 3/10 quicker than anyone else out there on their personal bests, as Arthur Thuddle running a best lap of the 26.3 right now, is Demis Titchler has had another issue. And it looks like he has this potential contact with de Jong. De Jong behind. No, Titchler just completely missing the braking point into the final turn there and runs off the circuit. So a bad day goes to worse for Titchler. 10 minutes left on the clock. We're looking at about 8 more laps in this race, including the one that we are on. And right now, Arthur Thuddle team fight out there at the front, as Cooper Akers sitting in 3rd position right now. Jura Larkinen in 4th, Adamahan Codeman, as Dan Mould is right behind this trainer driver as well, looking to try and find a way to the inside of Tony Walker. Can do that, as Downing is obviously up to 8th position with the instance going on ahead of him. Daniel Lewis doing still a good job sticking with these the 3 podium sitters basically all running together, 8th, 10th and 11th right now, but they are trying to get past Tony Walker, who is sitting 9th in the race, up towards the final 2 corners of the lap now, as they still remain single file. This is the really thing about this circuit, is it's easy to make the mistakes. We've seen drivers make those small mistakes. That's when the opportunities best open up for our drivers, and it's when they will really be wanting to get their way through. But until they see that mistake, until they see that slight opening, it's really hard to find a way past around this circuit, because of how tight it is, because of how big the cars are around here as well. It can be tricky to find your way through, especially clean. We've seen a couple of incidents going on, but for the most part, I would say actually the driving here has been a lot better than I think most people would have been expecting, with it being such a tight circuit. As Codeman gets past Laconan, and Scotton gets through as well. They've both made their way past here. It's happened out of turn number 5, turn number 6 into turn 7. It's a deep moment for Laconan. It is a mistake. Through goes Codeman. Through goes Scotton, down goes Laconan, And once again, it is now Hardy behind Lekonen here. Scotton and Kodeman are going to try and pull away here. Scotton is going to want to try and take the position on Kodeman. Being in two separate classes here, Scotton goes to the outside into turn number 11. It's a tricky way to make the overtake on the outside here. Continues to hold it through turn 12 though, and does make it. And Lekonen there trying to take advantage of the slower Kodeman. Didn't quite work out, but Downing on the rear end of Hardy now up towards turn number 1, and is going to go side by side, and there's contact. Around goes Carl Hardy. Down goes Daniel Downing as Tony Walker and Dan Mould make that move through. And I think I'm going to have to say that, well, let's find out how that looks first along as we ride on board. I don't know, it looks like actually it's potentially that Downing turned in towards the left here. Yeah, Downing starts to turn in before Hardy does. And even though yes, you've got to make the turn, you can't just force the driver inside of you to make the turn before he wants to. So I'm going to actually put that one on Daniel Downing in that one, which is a shame. And it is a shame for Carl Hardy, who now runs down in 22nd position after doing a good job towards the front. But it is a couple of spin outs here as drivers just really wanted to take those final positions. And once again, Dan Mould finds the gravel on the outside of turn number 10. And he's done that a couple of times now throughout this race. So he is really pushing hard. 6 minutes left on the clock. We'll see about 5 more laps with that, and Dirtle has a 6-second gap at the front. Akers was closing up to 5, but Fry is now doing a good job of just maintaining about 1 second gap ahead of Cooper Akers, but those top 3 sitting 6 seconds ahead of Jaden Scotton, who is now in 4th position and feeling very clear in the front of the field as we continue to head around right now. And it is continuing to be Kodeman, who is in the middle of this one, chasing down Jaden Scotton, but Scotton is pulling a bit of speed ahead now. So it could be Kodeman trying to hold on from Lekonen. Lekonen was up there, gave up that position after going deep through turn number 7, which is this right-hander we're getting into now. That was Tony Walker getting a bit of curbing there, and now has Dan Mould all over the rear. Mould looks to the outside to try and get the inside into turn number 9, but that turn 8 is just too tight. You're just not going to be able to hold an outside line there as we head out of turn 9 along Shannon Straight and up towards turn number 10 now. You can see this isn't the only train out there. There is that second train just behind as well, which is being led by Ryan Stringer in 13th, goes all the way down to 19th of John Brown as well, as it looks like 3 different racing lines here, and that could be a swap over for Daniel Lewis, trying to get past Daniel Downing, but Downing now does hold on there in 9th position, does keep that position ahead of Daniel Lewis, but will be wanting to get past Dan Mould as we head into the first 2 turns on the lap with about 4 more laps to go. And Kev Aylett makes the move past Thomas Coombe into the first chicane, and that actually happened as we got into the braking zone. Aylett had the speed, got to the inside of Coombe. Coombe not putting up too much of a fight in that one, thinking it's a safer bet to just let him through and hold on to what will be sitting in 17th position in this race. Borkland here looking to try to get to the inside of Lewis. There's a nudge. Lewis gets it slowed down though, but won't be happy with the nudge behind from Kim Borkland as we now head up towards the turn number 9. And a slightly different line from Borkland there, looking to get the speed on the exit. Could potentially work out here. Moves to the right-hand side. Is going to be able to, Daniel Lewis is going to be able to get onto that racing line, but Borkland looking to try and get the speed on the exit of the corners. A little bit of gravel being kicked up by a number of cars in front of him, but Borkland is on the rear end of Daniel Lewis. He could try to get inside the top 10 as we go in towards turn number 11 and up to 12 now with about 3 more laps on the board. The gap at the front has decreased here to 4 seconds. That's gone down 2 seconds. from what it was before. And I'm trying to see if anything's happened to Arthur Thurtle. This was at the beginning of lap 15, and it is a huge moment for race leader Arthur Thurtle. That could have been it all over for the man who has been dominating this race. Just pushing it too hard on the exit of turn 2. Wow, that could have been all over in just an instant for Arthur Thurtle there. He is very fortunate that that gap did close down. Fortunately, he had more than enough space between him and the car behind that he remains in the lead by a dominant 4 seconds ahead of Stephen Fry and then Cooper Akers. So it looks like we could potentially have an attempted overtake here for 4th position as Scotton goes extremely defensive. Codeman's going to get the speed on the exit here. Had to go on the wider line as Scotton went defensive. He goes defensive again, and Codeman once again to the outside. Is he going to try and hold it on the outside? That could have been contact from Codeman. Gets it slowed down perfectly, though, for turn number 11 into turn number 12. A tap on the brakes there from Codeman as behind Scotton across the timing line here to go onto their 17th lap of asking. 2 more laps to go. Lights flashing from Codeman there. He wants Scotton out of the way. Of course, Scotton being in the pro class, Codeman being in the Pro-Am class. They do take points from their overall race results, though, as we head up towards turn number 3 now. And drivers will be hoping that they don't push too hard over the curbing on the outside turn number 2. Definitely after Thurtle went off. That gap down again here as Arthur Thurtle has had another issue at the front, and that gap now down to 2 seconds. What has happened to Thurtle this time? And it's too hard into turn 5 off the circuit from race leader Arthur Thurtle. He just needs to keep it together. That gap now down to Stephen Fry, just 2 seconds. One more mistake and Thurtle could be out of the lead of this race here as we go on to the final lap of asking. He'll be hoping to keep it together. This continues to be the train up to Jaden Scotton in 4th position. Larkinen gets to the rear end of Codeman there, getting very close, but not able to make any moves as the race comes up to its final lap of asking. Arthur Thurtle goes on to the final lap as Crowther and Aylett for a moment there. It looked like they may have switched positions, but it's gone back again as we now head on to the final lap of asking. Will Arthur Thurtle be able to keep it clean this time? He's going to be hoping so. What's going to happen to the fight behind with Jaden Scotton running around in 4th position, leading this train of drivers 7 seconds behind the podium drivers, which are now all separated by just 4 seconds. Up towards turn number 5. That gap once again at the front, just alternating a little bit, but I think Thurtle's got it this time around as we head through rollover corner. All the cars getting through on their wheels, but that's a big move from Daniel Downing. Contact with Dan Mould there to the inside. Daniel Downing is now stuck on the outside line, allows Dan Mould to get that position as that was Falkland to the inside of Daniel Lewis behind, trying to get any position they can on the final lap of asking. But Mould stays ahead of Downing, stays ahead of Lewis, stays ahead of Borkland. Arthur Thurtle comes through turn number 11, up to turn number 12 here, and goes towards the timing line. Arthur Thurtle wins for the 2nd time this season. For the first time since Red Bull Ring at round number 5. The battles behind come across the line. Stephen Fry takes 2nd out of Cooper Akers. Jaden Scotton comes 4th out of Codeman. And Laconin comes home in 6th position. A close fight between Downing, Deshay, Stringer there as well, all coming across the line as drivers fight their way to the timing line. And finally at the very back of the field with Jeff Saunders and Chesney Vandenbroek, it is Saunders who comes ahead of Vandenbroek on that one. The race comes to an end here at Winton Raceway, and we are going to have a look at our race results at the end of that one, and it is a second win of the season for Arthur Thurtle, who's absolutely smashed it here today in that second race. I mean, it almost went wrong for him towards the end there. A few mistakes, but that initial speed that he had pulled him enough gap that he was able to hold on up ahead. Stephen Fry comes home in second ahead of Cooper Akers. Akers is going to love that result with his championship fight that is ongoing right now. Jaden Scotton took home fourth position ahead of Mahan Kodeman. Then it was Jura Lakinen who came home in sixth ahead of Tony Walker. And Dan Mould managed to recover for eighth position but would have hoped for more. Daniel Lewis came home in ninth ahead of Kim Borkland. Then in 11th position was Daniel Downing ahead of JB Dejay. Ryan Stringer took home 13th ahead of Lucas Henschel, who did a great result there in 14th. Dec Crowther took home 15th ahead of Kev Aylett. Ronald de Jong took home 17th ahead of John Brown. Thomas Coombe came home in 19th position with Sydney Hards in 20th. 21st position went the way of Demis Titchler ahead of Carl Hardy. Tilborn Mayo came home in 23rd ahead of Jeff Saunders. Chesney Vandenbroek came home in 25th position, and Andy Littler came home at the back of the field. Anthony Lemmer not finishing that race, going out at the very start, along with Vigard Olsen Leah as well. It was an interesting set of races, a number of incidents going in that one, and a man that we are going to talk with first is going to be the driver who ended up finishing in first position in that final race of the day. However, it certainly wasn't going to be a win with the mistakes that were coming on there. Thurtle, you had so much speed at the start. What was going on towards the end?
I was just carrying on pushing. I wanted to do fastest laps. And yeah, that was it. Nearly cost myself twice.
I was going to say, it was a very big moment. I think the second moment you sent off at turn 5, I think that was an easy one to save. But you almost went into the old pit wall, pushing really hard through turn number 3. Why were you going for fastest lap? You had such a big lead out front.
I just wanted to.
Well, fair enough. I mean,
I didn't get to race anyone that race, so I was like, that was my thing. I would set fastest laps and yeah, win by as much as possible, or as little as possible, as it turned out.
Well, race number 2 went your way. It took the win. However, let's talk about race number 1. Of course, you were up there on the front row of the grid, but it all came unravelled at turn number 1.
Yeah, just well, it happens. It's part of racing. I meant I had some good fun trying to come back through the field. It was a tough track to overtake on.
Like I say, when you moved up into 15th position, you were there for most of the race once you got there. Did you feel like you could have moved up further, but you were happy with the pole, or do you think that was as high as you were going to get in that first race?
If I'd managed to get past JB like straight away as soon as I was behind him, I think I could have definitely got into the top 10, but not really much, not far into it. But no, once I got to 15th, that was a slight, relief. But then, I don't know if you saw it on the stream, I actually got past JB, then went off at turn 5 and had to get back past him again.
I don't think we actually caught that one. No, so turn 5's been a bit of an issue for you. That one is it's a tricky corner, isn't it? It's a long left-hander, and it gets tighter than you'd think.
Yeah, no, I just find these TCRs so unpredictable. Sometimes I'm going into there and I feel like I've got all the grip in the world. The next lap, I go into there and I've got no grip at all. And I can't work these cars out, really. They're just so random every lap, I find.
So you were sitting third going into today. Obviously, you've got a nice haul of points in that second race. It's going to help you out a bit with that one, especially with Borkland not having the greatest of couple of races for himself. So how are you feeling going into the 2 German rounds? You've got Hockenheim and Nürburgring to end this season.
Don't know. I haven't actually looked at the standings. I'm not here next week, so I missed that. That'll have to be a drop round. And did you say the Nürburgring was the last one?
The Nürburgring will be our final round, yeah.
Yeah, I don't tend to go well there in TCRs, so I don't know. I'll probably be somewhere around the top 5, but I doubt I'll be challenging for a win. But you never know. I'll always give it my best.
Well, good luck for that. Well done on your Wednesday, and hopefully we'll be talking to you at Nürburgring then for another victory.
Thank you, and yeah, see you in a couple of weeks.
That was Arthur Thurtle there, who finished that one in the win in race number 2 after getting unfortunately taken out in race number 1. Then we're going to talk to the man who was leading the amateur standings heading into the weekend and is going to be leading the amateur standings out of the weekend. That was a great second race for you there, Lucas, and a great first race as well. It's been a race full of instants around the track, but you've managed to find your way through. How have you found that one?
Boring, to be honest. I just tried to keep myself out of the scrambles at the start. And then I just had a Sunday drive. Not much going on. Car behind me, 0.5 seconds. Car in front of me, 0.5 seconds. It was just cruising through. Gained some positions by people spinning out. And it was just, yeah. It was a race. It's done. I'm probably never gonna drive the track again, but I made some points. I won 2 races. I think that's this. I'm the only one that has a second double win, right?
You so in class you have taken. Yeah, yes, you are the only other. So the 3 drivers have taken double wins. You. Scott Malcolm and Stephen Fry, you were the second person to do it, and now you've obviously done it again. Yeah, you are the Scott Malcolm is the only other driver to have done it twice. So well done on that.
Well,
but you said that second race was just you driving around. You were obviously in that that massive train of drivers that went from Ryan Stringer ahead of you all the way down to Demis Titchler in 21st. So I mean. I was watching it. It looked like it was difficult to make the overtake to decide where to get through. You say it was a bit of a Sunday drive. Were you not finding the gaps to make those overtakes?
There were some tactics going into this, right? Like Ryan was in front of me, and he had some competitors behind me. I was fine with my position, so I just stayed there and made my car wide and, yeah, gained points for the team. That was the goal, and it worked.
And you did that very well. There were a couple other teams out there trying to do the same. It didn't go quite the same way for them. So a great result for you once more. And how are you feeling then going into the final 2 rounds? We've got Hockenheim, we've got Nürburgring, 2 brilliant German circuits.
Home races. I live 30 minutes off Hockenheim. Drove it myself, so I'm pretty confident going in there. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm hyped. I'm gonna score big, hopefully, on Hockenheim, and finish it at Nürburgring. I want that title, yeah.
Well done on your results here today. You say you are still going to be leading the amateur standings after this one, so you're in a good position going into those 2 races in your home country there. So good luck for the rest of the season, Lucas.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That was Lucas Henschel there. Did a great result in that one. And yes, there was a change in our championship classes. Stephen Fry moving to the Pro Am field, which was not updated, of course, on our overlays today. But what that did mean is that there were a few different results from the original expected. Lucas Henschel taking that win in the final race of the day. We will get that updated, of course, for next week as we return at Hockenheim for round number 9 at the same time, 9:15 p.m. GMT, so in our British time for that one. I hope you do join us. Like I say, if you are new around here and you've not already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button and so that you are notified when new videos are uploaded and new live streams happen over here on SRL. Make sure you hit that like button as well underneath the stream so that you are supporting SRL and all that they do. We will be back then next week when we head across to the Hockenheim Ring on December 5th. We've got 2 final rounds left with the Hockenheim Ring and the Nürburgring. To find out more about the SRL TCR series of season number 9 and make sure that you are the first to hear about all of the information to do with season number 10. Head across to the SRL Discord as well and get yourself involved in the conversation. But here at SRL and from Beehive Build Broadcasting, we hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you again next Friday at the Hockenheim Ring for round number 9. Until then, goodbye.